At this stage of the Italian First Division season, the big matches come thick and fast, and Juventus against Inter, our main feature today, certainly comes into that category. Last week, Inter held the league leaders Milan to a 1-1 draw in San Siro, and today they're head-to-head with the team which stands second in the table, Juventus, who are only 1 point off the pace. Inter make 2 changes from the side which got that draw against Milan last week, and they're designed to give a more attacking emphasis even in this an away match. Out goes Beppe Baresi, and at number 7 Stefano Desideri comes in to give some thrust on the right-hand side of midfield, and Ciocci, Massimo Ciocci, replaces Fontolan in attack. Of course, it's a very special afternoon for Giovanni Trapattoni, who returned last summer to coach Juventus after 5 successful seasons with Inter. And this is his side today. And they're pleased to welcome back to the centre of their defence Jurgen Kohler, who was suspended last week when they beat Roma here. Otherwise, it's got very much a familiar look to it. Salvatore Schillaci is shaken off an ankle injury sustained in a midweek friendly. Well, Trapattoni, 6 titles in his first spell with Juventus, 76 to 86, and 1 further championship in those 5 years with Inter. Inter 5th in the First Division, Juventus 2nd, both sides beaten only once. But Juventus have had the capacity under Trapattoni to get a succession of victories, while Inter have been bogged down with a number of drawn games. It's an opportunity for Inter in the post-Trapattoni era to really show their mettle against this master strategist. Here's Casiraghi, who's having a fine time this season for Juventus with 5 goals already. Matthäus. Extra spice given to this league meeting by the draw for the quarter-finals of the Italian Cup. It is Juventus against Inter. Inter came through in midweek against Como, and Jürgen Klinsmann scored again to add to the goal that he savoured and was aching to get so much, his first goal of the season last Sunday at the expense of Milan, the equaliser in the derby. And Schillaci jumping with his arm up. Here's Alessio being forced to go around the outside. There's help there if he wants it from Reuter, but he doesn't need it. And Zenga really tested by the cross. He's out of position now, but the whistle has gone in the goalkeeper's favour. And I must say, Juventus have some grounds for complaint. But the first major incident of the match, and it very nearly brought Juventus the breakthrough. Out came Zenga. Casiraghi was holding him down. That was what the decision was for. Casiraghi. Reuter has gone into the centre of midfield, but Casiraghi looks a little deeper and a little safer, really, to find Julio Cesar. Cut out by Dino Baggio. Julio Cesar. Reuter laying it back to Kohler. Gallia Almost getting into D'Agostini's territory on that left-hand side, but the ball stays with Roberto Gallia. Casiraghi, stopped by Dino Baggio, laid off well by Klinsmann. Clearly his head has been cleared, and that was an encouraging little interplay for Inter, who are well represented in terms of support in this stadium that was built for the city of Turin and their two most famous clubs in the context of the 1990 World Cup. Kola. Dropped well for Casiraghi. Now Reuter. Alessio holding his position wide on the right. D'Agostini to the left. It's Baggio on the ball for Reuter. And it's D'Agostini's shot. With 18 minutes gone, Zenga has a difficult save to make, down by the near post. And it's a corner to Juventus. Baggio to take it. And Schillaci knows that was an opportunity and reflects on it for a second or two. Inter unable to deal with the ball at the near post. It was Carrera who flicked it on. And stabbing at it, Schillaci sent it just too high. And Orrico is certainly not a relaxed man on the Inter bench, or off it, as you saw then. And no wonder his nerves are jangling. But here's Bremer, well forward for his team. Desideri, now Berti, suddenly into recognising the opportunity to get players forward. And it was just knocked away from Klinsmann by Kola. The Inter striker appreciating the cross though. And Juventus have to turn their minds to their organisation now in defending at the corner. Just over half an hour gone, and Trapattoni, it's his turn to be agitated. Mateus will drive it in, and he'll get another opportunity. Casiraghi being steered away from that crowded near-post area by Carrera. Still a likely target for Mateus. The goalkeeper could have got it. Alessio. Well, Juventus sweeping forward, and then Casiraghi losing out. He's getting something of a reputation as a provocative player. There's no free kick in his favour then. In comes Berti. Unlucky. Very unlucky. That's what Inter are looking for. Just to ration their attacking sorties, but to try and cash in on what opportunities are going to present themselves on the break. And Nicola Berti is perfectly equipped for that. And then it's all German action again, because it's Bremer who brings down Kola, and he's booked for that. Bremer can have no complaints. He made sure that Kola wasn't going to get in behind him and get a return pass. So a free kick to Juventus. Casiraghi wondering whether a chance might come for him to show off his prowess in the air. Inter defending well forward. Headed back by Gallia. And there is an offside now. Bergami. Here's Montanari. Oh, what's he done here? Casiraghi mowed down by Zenga. Penalty. And Zenga and Casiraghi with an amazing confrontation there. Undoubtedly a penalty. Montanari playing his side into terrible trouble. And Zenga anxious that he might be sent off. Inter really can have no complaints, but it rests with Roberto Baggio. And he makes it look ridiculously simple. Juventus 1, Inter 0. Casiraghi earned the penalty, and Baggio took it like a master. Looked the goalkeeper in the eyes, confident of his ability to strike the ball. And the look at Zenga detected where the goalkeeper was diving away to, so that Baggio quite simply could stroke it into an unattended part of the goal. Well, I think Zenga, who's explaining now and perhaps honouring the skill of Baggio, above all else, is relieved still to be on the pitch. Casiraghi wasn't offside, and the whistle a little premature because Fabio Baldas has given Juventus the free kick. When there was an expectation that possibly another goal was in the offing had he allowed an advantage. There was still a lot for Casiraghi to do, of course, but all will be forgotten if this free kick is fruitful for the home side. De Agostini. Walter Zenga, 31 years old now, 53 appearances for Italy. Always a dominant personality in whatever matches that he plays, however much or little he has to do. And very much to the fore here, in the manner of Juventus taking the lead. Given away by Berti. Schillaci. There should be a large helping of time added on at the end of the first half for stoppages, of which there have been several. Mateus. It was an enterprising ball, but it ends with an offside against Berti. Klinsmann. And he likes these positions, and he's got help from Mateus. And Klinsmann ignored the ball in the appeal for a penalty, and how foolish that was, because Matthäus was concentrating on the job. Klinsmann is booked for dissent. And Inter hoping the referee was of a mind to even out the penalty at the other end. But you had a contrast in professionalism and lack of it. Two German internationals. And Matthäus shakes the hand of the referee, and he came out of that incident well. First of all, in his determination here. Now, Julio César went in, and Matthäus went down, only for a moment. Klinsmann was sure that that should have been a penalty. And I must say, from that angle, Julio César was coming across Matthäus and was responsible for bringing him down. Matthäus got on with the game and got in his cross, while Klinsmann turned and confronted the referee. Had he waited to debate the matter, he might have got first to the cross at the near post and headed in the equaliser. Berti. Now Bergami. Matthäus involved again. A useful attempt by Ciocci. Who spun. He's got a low centre of gravity, and look how close it was. It grazed the outside of the post. There wasn't that much power on the shot, but the placement was promising. And there's been plenty of courage and character from Inter after going a goal behind. We've had 3 minutes of time added on at the end of the first half, which has been high profile, as you would expect, conducted at a high pace, mostly by Juventus, who were rewarded for their initiative when Casiraghi here was brought down by Walter Zenga, and Baggio wrapped in the penalty. That was 8 minutes before half-time. Inter, since then, have started to flex their muscles and given great promise for the second half ahead. Juventus 1, Inter 0 at the halfway stage. Juventus trying to build on the position created by their excellent work for much of the first half. One or two of the Inter players came out for the second half with a real spring in their step, notably Nicola Berti, who was ahead of the line and got into position for the kickoff, really anxious to rise to the challenge in the second half. And the problems started for Juventus. The referee reaching for the yellow card and raising it to Toto Schillaci for an infringement involving Matthäus. Juventus have an excellent home record this season. They were just caught right at the last by Milan here early in the season, a 1-1 draw when Milan were presented an equaliser with an own goal by Carrera in the closing seconds. Whether Inter can match their rivals from the same city remains to be seen. They certainly showed enough in the closing stages of the first half to suggest that they're not out of the game yet by any means. Schillaci, and it's too far ahead of Roberto Baggio, who likes the ball in any case more played to his feet. Mateus. Inter have already drawn one game on this ground this season. They drew 0-0 with Torino. And here's Ciocci. Klinsmann might get it. Much surprising himself with the room that he had. It was a difficult pass to manufacture, flat along the line, easy to be intercepted. Calleja with some obstruction then, and he wasn't going to get away with that. It allowed Reuter to move on to the ball. And actually the referee had turned his back on a game that was still going on. He thought he'd stopped it. And Bergami and Casiraghi at close quarters. Bremer. It was an untidy challenge by Carrera on Baggio. So a free kick to Inter. Certainly too close for any Juventus comfort here. What will Bremer try and do with it? Mateus wanting the corner, and the ball rolled along the line. Almost an indentation made by the pitch marker there. It's a difficult ball to cross, but he came up with the answer, Mateus. Ferri. Bremer. Desideri sat up for the shot. Stefano Desideri. And, it's a disappointed Desideri twice. But Inter finding something extra in adversity. Goal down to Juventus, who are pushing the league leaders Milan all the way. Good rescuing tackle by Carrera. Reuter, who loves to run with the ball, and has made space there where there seemed to be none. Schillaci. Reuter wants the return pass too. Unlucky Juventus that time. The game goes on, although there are still one or two words being exchanged off the ball. But Reuter ran through a pack of Inter players, initially in his own half, to be the architect of an attack that he, at the end, was trying to round off, and Inter were really struggling to deal with. Long from Riccardo Ferri. Dino Baggio jumping under challenge from Alessio. Free kick to Inter. Maybe Bremer can do better this time. He's wasted a couple. I say wasted, of course he is reliant on his teammates being mobile and being clever with their movement in the centre. Might be a different option this time. Desideri's gone across. They're keeping track of Klinsmann, or trying to do that. Desideri has the shot, and was swooped upon by Taccone. Casiraghi. Not getting much from the referee. Maybe his reputation is going against him, but here's Alessio. Good run by Schillaci. And the pass wasn't quite angled enough to suit the striker, who'd peeled away to try and make space for the pass and for himself to move on from it. All came when Casiraghi was still complaining to the referee. Here's Mateus, getting the better of Roberto Baggio. Berti, deflected off Galea, that's Ciocci, it needed the stop. It wasn't hit hard, but as with Ciocci's effort just before half-time, it was along the right angle, and it's produced a corner, and more optimism for Inter. Juventus defending rather better on the near post that time. Brema having to go back to make room for himself. Ferri. Berti heading it on, and Julio Cesar playing safe. Juventus leading by Roberto Baggio's penalty after 37 minutes. But finding life more difficult since then, both before half-time and subsequent to that. Remains a most absorbing match. I don't think there was much doubt that that would be the occurrence, given the circumstances here and the Trapattoni influence. Here's Berti. That's Ciocci. And Tacconi asked for more from his team, and he's entitled to do that. It's a corner, and Inter are getting closer and closer. Mateus to take it. Oh, and Dino Baggio coming in with real purpose then. It's another corner. 14 minutes played in the second half. Inter a goal down, but trying to change that now. Well, if it was pushing, it was Baggio again, I think. Although Berti, who's got this injured expression down to a fine art, who asked the referee for a ruling then. Maybe Juventus will look to Marocchi to restore some order in midfield, where they're losing out at the moment. For the moment, Marocchi keeps the protective clothing on this cold Italian afternoon in Turin, where the weather can reach extremes. And the football can be thrilling. Brema. It's a measured build-up by Inter too. It's not been frenetic and frantic. They have asserted themselves more, but the effort has been controlled and coordinated. Ciocci at the sharp end of it is a worthy foil for Klinsmann. Brought back by Orrico today. He spent a lot of time on the bench. He's got a considerable appetite and a point or two to prove. Always the feeling, though, that Juventus might hit on the break. And Schillaci Matthäus, who chased on in that position last week against Milan and got a yellow card for a ruthless piece of defending. Well, he has tried for the ball, but I think in the knowledge that he'd settled for bringing the man down. Serie, son of a professional boxer, and with all the rugged looks of the archetypal Italian defender, which he certainly is, and even now with the free kick being quite properly awarded, he's trying to apply some pressure onto the referee. Now, Juventus haven't offered much sophistication this season in these positions. They've let Julio Cesar do this. Schillaci was maybe a suspicion of offside. And now there is an offside. Klinsmann hurling the ball back, wanting the game to go on, not just because Inter are losing, but I think because he recognises that there is real potential for an equaliser here. Matthäus, Serie, good first touch. Made the shot possible by taking the pace off the ball instantly. Klinsmann, Serie again. And Bergami was setting off on the right, just checked to make himself available here. That's well played between the two of them. Serie needs a good cross now. And the player who's getting himself into the shooting positions is Ciocci, but Matthäus, I don't know, what was the message? Perhaps on that occasion to take an extra touch, but he had more time than he realised. It was a difficult ball to strike, and Trapattoni has taken off Schillaci, who's not at all happy about that decision, and a striker departs. Another midfield player comes on. It's totally tactical, and the shape of the second half, you don't have to be a deep analyst of the game to recognise what Juventus feel has to be done here. They're getting overrun in midfield, and Marocchi's on to try and prevent that happening on such frequent occasions as we've seen in the second half. Montanari's header forward. Gallia. Well, it ran for Baggio. Casiraghi stayed onside just. But even when Juventus do get the ball, Inter still have the energy to cope with their own organisation defensively. They haven't sacrificed much of that in pushing on. Well, here's a cameraman's delight, Trapattoni. And you can understand his worry, but Enrico's got more to worry about. Particularly if Gallia gets in here. Oh, that's brilliant! 8 minutes to go! And that should wrap it up for Juventus. Their first goal was in keeping with the balance of play, the second totally against it. And Roberto Gallia, all his own work. And Inter this time were caught out. It was a thrust really from an unexpected quarter. A superb solo run, a splendid chip over the goalkeeper at the end of it. And I mentioned earlier that Gallia's forced his way into the side and kept his place by the quality of his performances. And they won't be leaving him out next week, you can be assured of that. Baggio. Marocchi. and there are some frustrated Inter players out there. Milwaukee happy with the free kick. It's time for a second change, with Di Canio replacing Alessio. Second change for Juventus.
Juventus sostituisce il numero 7 Alessio con il numero 16 Di Canio.
Gallia also casting himself in the role of motivator as well for the new arrival. Well, what Gallia did was motivation enough. Not a bad time to come on for Di Canio now. Might have been much more difficult at 1-0. Julio Cesar, and there was a deflection, it's a corner. And Senga petulant again. And he must have seen that happen. Might even claim that he got a touch and made a save himself. Senga, who was booked for dissent last week in the Milan derby. D'Agostini. There was an interesting article in the Italian press this week about the wealth of the clubs and indeed the individuals involved at the clubs. It showed that Berlusconi had a bigger fortune than Agnelli, the Berlusconi of Milan, bigger fortune than Agnelli, the Juventus president. It said that Luigi D'Agostini was the richest of the Juventus players. I don't know whether that money's all come from football. I've mentioned before that he plays a part in the family wine business. Berti, penalty! Penalty! And the game isn't over. We are in the last minute. Berti came in, as did Julio Cesar, and you saw where the referee was on the bottom right of your screen. And from his angle, it was an instant response. Now Baggio has a word with Taccone. It's going to spark here a furious last few seconds as Matthäus takes it, scores 2-1. Ciocci retrieves the ball. Has it come too late for Inter? Matthäus taking the route with power, and Taccone, advised by Baggio, went the right way, could only thrust it on and up into the roof of the net. And Juventus now want to use up time. Berti pulled down by D'Agostini. It's a last chance for Inter. Juventus were starting to celebrate a victory at 2-0. It might yet finish 2-2. A marvellous match. Two traditional rivals in a superb setting. And it goes down to the wire. Slipped in by Matthäus, who heads it back in again. And Inter were a bit slow coming out. The linesman was flagging. He and only he will make the decision when to end the game. It's a right of the referee, but even in this technological age, is rarely questioned. He particularly can adjudicate on any time wasting, which will be difficult, of course, for an official timekeeper outside the playing area, which is a theory that has been put forward once or twice. Juventus have won it. Trapattoni present, have beaten Trapattoni past, but only just. Roberto Baggio with the first half penalty to confirm the way that Juventus played in the first 45 minutes. But Inter, who are reacting angrily here at the final whistle, there's animosity between the two sets of players. It's been such a fierce contest. Inter came out for the second half, and Berti, almost in his entrance onto the pitch, set the tone really. He roared out and wanted to get on with the game, and Inter certainly did do that and deserved something from their forceful football, and then found themselves 2 goals adrift. A brilliant individual goal by Roberto Gallia, which turned out to be the decider. Inter got their penalty in the last minute of normal time, earned by Berti, taken by Matthäus, and it's finished breathless here. Juventus 2, Inter 1. The only unbeaten record in the division still stands. The writing was on the wall for Torino when they needed goalkeeper Marchegiani and the post to prevent Marco van Basten, giving Milan a first-minute lead. Evani's corner now, Maldini helping the ball on, Ruud Gullit frustrated. Torino looking nervous in their defending, understandable with Van Basten around. Milan went in front here, a most unusual goal though, Gullit using a knee to direct in Evani's cross. Torino's troubles mounting, Marchegiani injured and not able to play on in the second half. And the substitute goalkeeper, Di Fusco, was slow to react to a header from Massaro 2 minutes into the second half. Milan sitting pretty at 2-0. Gullit's appearance will have raised an eyebrow or two in Holland in midweek. He'd made a late withdrawal from the Dutch team which beat Greece to earn European Championship qualification. Very involved for his club in this match, a 2-0 victory over Torino. Napoli in third spot, Cagliari in the relegation zone. It looked a formality for the home side. It might not have been if, from Fonseca, the ball hadn't rolled tantalizingly wide of the Napoli goal. Nor if Fonseca had provided a more precise finish to this dangerous run. It was a speculative shot from Corradini, which gave the match its more expected shape. Yelpo kept it out, and Crippa's follow-up before Careca struck. And 2 minutes before half-time, it was the brilliant Brazilian again. His 7th of the season, superbly taken. Only Yelpo stopped Cagliari, sinking totally without trace at this stage. And early in the second half, the Cagliari goalkeeper excelled himself again, frustrating Zola. More Napoli goals were inevitable, though. 3-0 from Francini's header after 68 minutes. And 9 minutes later, Cagliari could only stop Careca by conceding a penalty. Padovano made the most of it. 4-0, Cagliari's biggest defeat of the season. And lucky that it wasn't even more painful. Laurent Blanc against the bar. Napoli still progressing and impressing. Cremonese had lost their previous 5 matches. Lazio undefeated in away games this season. Goalless in the first half, though Ruben Sosa offered the prospect of better things to come for Lazio. It didn't turn out that way, though. Cremonese could have taken the lead here. Berger robbing De Zotti of a goal right on the line. And they did overturn the form guide. De Zotti almost on the line this time, not to be denied. The signing of Floriancic last month has given an extra edge to Cremonese in attack, Regucci pulling him down with the inevitable outcome. To be followed by the departure of Cremonese's Jacobelli, the game now 10 aside. It was settled beyond doubt by the first goal in Italy from Floriancic with 12 minutes left. A real shot in the arm for Cremonese, their second win of the season. Genoa had slipped into the lower half of the table, distracted perhaps by UEFA Cup success. Carlos Aguilera, with a cunning free kick here, was a major problem for Parma, though, who were left wondering about offside when Bortolazzi and Ruotolo put a goal on a plate for Aguilera after 20 minutes. Parma might have anticipated an equaliser here. Minotti's diving header, Braglia the barrier. Still 1-0 to Genoa.
as Aguilera and Eranio mounted this twin-pronged attack on Tapparell's goal. The same two involved again for Genoa here, but Tapparell in the end reading Aguilera's mind. But there was no chance for the Brazilian goalkeeper 3 minutes from time, a big deflection from a Bortolazzi free kick. Genoa got what they deserved though, winners 2-0. Well, what of Sampdoria? 7 matches without a win, only a penalty and an own goal on their score sheet in this wretched run. Foggia, with Signori and Baiano, gave the champions plenty of problems. Signori wasted this opportunity to punish them, though, set up beautifully by Baiano. Even the referee was moved to console him. As for Sampdoria, a low shot from Sreko Katanets, but Foggia still the more forceful side. Pagliuca improvising a save from Baroni, and then grateful that Rambaudi didn't connect cleanly after Baiano broke free again. The real drama now, goalkeeper Mancini mowing down Lombardo. For Sampdoria, suddenly the chance to snatch their first win since September. Gianluca Vialli's penalty off the underside of the bar, over the line. Well, Vialli was certain it was. The replay adds some evidence to that. But Sampdoria are having no luck at all at the moment, and to add to their troubles, substitute Busso was sent off for a second bookable offence. Sampdoria collected their 3rd point from their last 8 games. Atalanta ahead of Roma in mid-table, only on goal difference, but in difficulties of their own making. Look on the left of the picture, Nicolini's foul on Bonacina. That produced a red card, Atalanta down to 10 men in the first half. And Bonacina, signed in the summer from Atalanta, rubbing salt in the wounds of his old club. 1-0 to Roma on the half hour. Thomas Hessler, a whisker away from doubling that lead. And Roma really on a roll at this stage. This is Rudi Foller. But 7 minutes into the second half, a smash and grab by new signing Piovanelli brought Atalanta level. And it added further substance to their excellent away record. Fiorentina are forcing their way out of their early season difficulties. Verona, their latest victims. Iachini's free kick, Batistuta nagging away at the opposition. Karobi popping in the opening goal after 13 minutes. 2 minutes later, the roles reversed. Karobi sent clear by Orlando, and a sweeping strike by Batistuta, reminiscent of his splendid form in the Copa America. Verona's most positive reply, Rossi's header from a corner taken by Robert Pritz. Into the second half, a screamer from Iachini as Fiorentina sought to impose themselves again. Verona not out of it yet. Renica's effort turned aside by Maregini, and from this corner, defender Celeste Pin almost cashing in. But Fiorentina finished the match as they started it, with 2 goals in quick succession. The first falling to their captain, Carlos Dunga, at the second attempt. And then a special moment for substitute Vincenzo Matrone, a 20-year-old defender. 4-0 to Fiorentina. And there was still time for Verona to get one back, Claudio Lunini, in the last minute. Finally to the bottom 2 in the table. A most entertaining match in the circumstances. The advantage with Ascoli here, with Zaini, who had a fine game, making the opening goal for Maniero. And right on half-time, Bari were caught out again. Benetti left all alone and responding with an emphatic header. But 12 minutes into the second half, Soda hooked the ball towards goal, and David Platt claimed that he helped it on its way over the line. That might have been all academic if Zaini had accepted this opportunity to restore Ascoli's 2-goal margin. Instead, Platt showed a marvellous sense of timing in more ways than one, making superb contact with only 4 minutes to go and rescuing a point when Bari had looked to be beaten again. They may well go down, but David Platt is impressing other clubs in Italy now with his major contribution in these most difficult of circumstances. Bari remains behind Ascoli at the bottom, Cremonese able to close the gap on Cagliari, Sampdoria step back above Verona. Torino tumbling at the moment, down from 8th to 12th. It really is congested, though, in mid-table, with 5 clubs on 14 points. The top 3 all won, though, and are showing signs of pulling away from the pack. Napoli improved their goal difference, putting 4 past Cagliari. Milan too good for Torino, and Juventus sticking to their heels, with their guru of past great times back at the helm. Giovanni Trapattoni will have enjoyed the latest win at the expense of his previous club, Inter. But it was much closer than it might have been after Roberto Baggio's nerveless penalty after 37 minutes. Juventus were on the ropes after that, until one of their unsung heroes, Roberto Gallia, stunned Inter with a glorious and decisive goal. In adversity, it was the kind of response from a team that is capable of winning a championship.